Well, thanks for staying with us on ADBN Television this Monday morning. Our main discussion on our flagship program is political mergers and the 2027 race. Well, joining us virtually this morning to discuss it and from the angle of the opposition with major defections and the talks of a mega party is Mr. Chris C. Nwani, who is the president, Youth Afrique Leadership Forum and an author. Hello, good morning to you, Mr. Chris. Can you hear me? Well, whilst I can see you've joined us, I'm still trying to make good of the audio. Good morning, can you hear me?
Good morning, I can.
Well, very well, I can hear you, although the network seems to be a little bit shaky. We're hoping we can have a smooth conversation. Let's start with those talks of a mega party. Yes, over the past few weeks, we've seen defections of the former Kaduna State Governor and ex-minister Nasser El-Rufai also hinting that many might be joining Nigeria's far center political party, the Social Democratic Party. What do you make of this?
Well, it looks like a good news going by the complaint and what people are saying that Nigeria actually need a change. We all know that things have not been going well with our country for a very long time. It didn't start today. Only that it has continued to degenerate, from bad to worse and from worse to worst. We've seen ourselves in these shoes for a long time, and we've been wondering if actually there is a solution to our problem. And I want to commend whatever anybody is doing in order to get things right. But the question I want to ask, do we continue to do the same thing and expect a change? The answer is no. Today, we've seen political party today will be a change. So what we're seeing today isn't new. There have been series of times when people have to say, okay, let's merge, let's do this. But the question I want to ask, and I want every Nigerian to understand, is if our mindset about leadership, if our mindset about leadership still remains, no matter the party you go to, if you carry the same mentality to that same party, it's going to be the same. I want us to ask ourselves is, why do we want to merge? We believe in Nigeria price to actually build a Nigeria that we got. Truly, it takes a people to build their nation. What the people are is what the nation becomes. And that's my concern about all of this. Have we learned our lessons? Are we ready to pay the price? Paying the price is that, am I doing this just for my benefit, what I will benefit, or because I want to occupy so and so position, or I want Nigeria to work? Because I believe there are a lot of Nigerians who have what it takes to actually build. We could, some of them are not in politics. How do we find these people who are ready to pay this for nation building? I think that is what is missing. Any other thing you do outside correcting our and ensuring that we have the right attitude to do things the way, and leaders being conscious that it's about serving the nation, it's about serving the people, it's about being there to correct errors. That is what leadership. If it's another job.
Now, Mr. Chris, if you can hear me, the former Jigawa State Governor, Sule Lamido, had earlier stated that the invitation issued to him by Malam Nasser El-Rufai, former Kaduna State Governor, to join the SDP is an insult to his person, while also chiding the former Kaduna State Governor, citing that he shouldn't switch political parties based on sentiments or grievances against the ruling All Progressives Congress, but rather due to the fact that he really wants to make changes in the country. Now, mind you, if you remember the tensions between El-Rufai and the president, and of course, at the time when he was about to be appointed as minister, and all the drama that ensued then, do you think that the former Jigawa State Governor might have been right in his statements to the former Kaduna State Governor?
Well, for me, just like I said earlier, we've always seen, display among the politicians. And I must say that as a Nigerian, I've lost hope, with the politicians because they seem to always be on the same page.
Yeah.
See them quarreling. It's about, I think the issue here is about what I'm going to get from whatever I'm doing today. It's the progress of the nation. We don't need to fight one another. I think it's time we stand up to fight for Nigeria, to believe in Nigeria, and to do all we can to make that nation work. If that in point for our discussion. If it's about Nigeria and we're all working towards making Nigeria great for every one of us, at that point, we won't be DP or APC or who is in the party, but it's about we all contribute to Nigeria work. For me, I've followed the Nigerian politics for a long time, and I've come to a conclusion that what we have been doing, nothing. We have need to change from followers. We need to understand what it entails to actually believe in our house. That is the starting point. We do not believe in Nigeria, we do not love Nigeria. That is why we pay attention to our ethnic group, Nigeria. We pay more attention to our political party more than we do to Nigeria. That is the challenge that we have. So people can come out, they can say anything arguable.
Well, Mr. Chris, it may seem that your connection there is slightly bad because it's breaking and we can barely make out the words you're saying. But if we could have a reconnection to Mr. Chris to see if the signal will sort of stabilize, it will go a long way in making the conversation a lot more smoother. But he was making quite some important points there, Vito, concerning the concept of running for political offices being surrounded by personal interests rather than, in the best interest of the nation. And that is one major problem that most people have always had with politicians, especially with regards to the issue of trust. They don't trust that these people are running for political office to better the nation, but rather to enrich their pockets.
Now, I think the main challenge is from how politics in Nigeria is shaped. Ever since December of 1989, when the first two political parties were formed, the SDP and the NNP.
Yeah.
It's on the issue of ideologies. Now, whilst SDP back then was talking about welfareism and the goodbye to poverty ideologies under the late MK Abiola, we've seen the formation of other parties that have come up with their own ideologies. But when you look at the key characters under these political parties, it's different to say that they are not all cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Because you have them decamped from one party to the other. And this cross-carpeting also even happens after they've been elected on the platform of a certain political party. Now, take for instance, the major defection everyone is talking about. The ex-Kaduna State Governor and Minister of the FCT, Nasir El-Rufai, who is now an SDP member and is issuing invitations to other political bigwigs to join him. He's been refused by the former Jigawa governor. He's been refused by former President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yeah.
But now when people are looking at the refusals, they're all saying one thing. They feel he is aggrieved. They feel that it's because he's not part of the APC government under the Reid Hope mandate, and hence his move against 2027. It's not born out of a place, much like Mr. Chris was talking, a place of genuine intentions to build Nigeria. It almost feels as power grabbing or a personal vendetta.
Now, certainly, I am of the opinion that it is more of from a point of personal vendetta rather than a need to better the country. And we all know how very vindictive certain political figures in the country can be. And I wouldn't want to say Malam Nasser El-Rufai is quite vindictive, but we know that he has always described himself as not being a politician, but rather a civil servant, but a civil servant that has the strategies of politics. I do not know why he has decided to align himself with the Nigerian civil service rather than politics, but we all know that he has run for political office twice, and he has won those positions. I mean, at the highest state level, being a governor, certainly El-Rufai is a politician. On this program here in the studio, a lot of times certain individuals like Patriot Desmond that just exited the studio had cited that El-Rufai is a necessary evil that must be kept within, and that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's lack of effort to make sure that Malam Nasir El-Rufai remains in his cabinet and part of his government is quite a grave mistake that might backfire ahead of 2027, and we're already seeing that playing out. 2027 is about 2 years ahead. The general election is about 2 years ahead, but of course, with the speed at which Malam Nasir El-Rufai is moving in the SDP, he's just a few days old. He's a few days old, the Campi. I don't think he has been in the SDP for up to 10 days. And already he's going for top guns, top shots within the political space, asking them to join in. I mean, being as bold as asking the former President General Muhammadu Buhari to join the SDP is in as much as El-Rufai is quite ambitious, but I think he should rather be commonsensical in some of his approaches. There is no way a political leader, a former president that came to power through the influence of a certain major in 2015 that brought about the surgence of APC, ruled the nation for 8 years and has done his bit for the nation. What Buhari needs right now is rest, much like the former president Olusegun Obasanjo is doing, and not to be engaging in active politics. There is absolutely no reason for Muhammadu Buhari to decamp from the APC to the SDP. To what end? Is he running for any political office? Does he have a favorite candidate? Even if he does have a favorite candidate, it does not require for him to exit his political party to the SDP in order to make that happen.
Now let's see if we can rejoin Mr. Chris on the show this morning to get his thoughts as well. Hello, Mr. Chris. With the hope that your connection is better, let's have you pick up from where we left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you, but although with some difficulty, you can go on.
It's nice, to discuss Nigeria, and I wish Nigerians, especially the young people, they are waking up and thinking better, because we've seen certain names reoccurring in our polity over the years, and the question one would want to ask is, how have these people fared in their leadership and in politics? What have they brought in? What have they done in the past? Has that been of any help to people? Have there been improvement based on what they're so that will make it to believe whether what they're saying now is right or wrong. And if what they're saying is the same rhetoric we've had over the years, then there won't be need for it. There won't be need to listen to people who have in the past. Because, for example, I am not trying to castigate anybody, but in all I do, I look at Nigeria as I put Nigeria in the front corner. That is the reason why we exist. Nigeria is my nationality, and I will always defend Nigeria. I won't do that at the expense of any other thing. The truth about it is that these guys, anybody talking about change or that wanting to do anything, do they truly love Nigeria? Because if you love Nigeria, you've been in politics for a long time, and let's take Nasir El-Rufai for example. He's been in APC for a long time. So what happened? He supported this present president to come into power. He also supported former President Buhari to come into power. In all of that, how has Nigeria fared with all these decisions we made? So what is going to change in the new decision it's making? These are the questions we need to ask. And if we can get the answers, the young people should know that we shouldn't get tired. It takes them to come up with new ideology, because these old lyrics can't really work anymore. The young people should begin to come up with ideas of how to take this nation forward, because the energy and what this nation needs to survive is in the hands of the young people. They may not be in politics before. Politics is not what is going to change Nigeria. It's going to take leadership. And leadership is about people who are taking responsibility for the good of the country. So people should come out. They should begin to look at themselves as, having the capacity to do the needful. Or that we are crying. Why are we crying that things are not working? It's because we feel that we over the time felt that things could be done better than it is now. And if our fathers, for example, have not done the needful, it's left for us to wake up to this reality, to begin to think of what to do. We can't rely on ideologies of 1999 or ideologies of 2024 or 2023, the last election that was held, to be what we see us through, because all those have not worked. What new thing are we going to do? I think time has come when the young people must wake up to their reality, understand that they have the power to make a change. They must believe in themselves, irrespective of what is going on. I was listening to the previous conversation where they talk about a young girl who came out, to talk about issues, and then people are blaming her for how she did. How are we bringing up these young people? What are we telling them? They are left with nothing, no knowledge of their nation and how to go about things. And then when they come out to express themselves the way they know, it becomes a problem. The truth about it is that I will say that the past generation have not really done the real work we need to do in order to bring everybody to that position where we begin to see Nigeria for who Nigeria is. How come every other people from other nations know what is good in Nigeria, but we Nigerians seem not to know what we have?
Let me take you back to your comment about most Nigerians, especially the younger demographic, not being knowledgeable about the political space and how certain government policies work and all of that. I don't think this should largely be blamed on the political class or the older generation over the lack of knowledge thereof, or ignorance of the younger generation as to how the country is run and how certain government policies work. It's more on the issue of political apathy on the side of the younger generation. Don't you think so?
I don't think so. You know what? There's no way the younger generation become what they see their people do. You understand? It's not the responsibility of the younger generation to train themselves. See, every society is a trajectory, and the older generation ensure that they teach the younger ones what to do. Then they learn from it.
Okay.
Happening even among the younger generation, where money has become the thing they are pursuing rather than knowledge and all of that, is a reflection of what they are seeing from their fathers, who are now, whose focus is more on making more money rather than even bringing up their children and all of that. So the older generation has failed. It's our responsibility to show the young people the way. We must not put that behind us. We must not say that these young people, they are becoming what they are becoming today because we did not do what we ought to do. And we cannot continue like this. Most of these young people, they came from a family. You understand? Like that young girl we're talking about, if he has a very, very strong cordial relationship with his father and mother and all of that, he might be able to say, okay, let me talk to my mom about this and know how to go about it, or my dad. But sometimes there are these loose ends that we have allowed over the years Everybody is doing whatever he likes, and people are just doing
Mr.
their
Chris,
own thing.
beyond personal family values and morality, Petro Desmond, who was on the show before you came on, asked some very pertinent questions, which I would want you to answer. He was like, he was asking if this same person in this scenario now, if she was asked who the governor of her state is, she might not be able to answer that question. If she was asked who the chairman, local government chairman of her own local government area is, she might not know. Her ward councillor is somebody she might never know his name. What is driving this political apathy? What is driving this lack of interest in the affairs of the nation? Everybody is concerned. Everybody is bearing the brunt of some of the policies that many people describe as anti-people policies of the government. However, we should be able to be involved in some certain way and be well knowledgeable about some certain policies and know how to tackle them. But that is not happening. Why do you think this is so?
Okay, let me tell you, loving one's nation is something that is very important. But you don't just, you are not just born and you start loving your nation. Somebody must teach you how to love your nation, okay, and why you should love your nation. Some of these are the things that are meant to be taught at the stage in primary schools, where you understand what the nation stands for and who you are as a citizen. And it starts by ensuring that your rights are protected. You know what your nation stands for you and what you gain as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can you tell me, even an adult Nigerian, understand what are his rights and his responsibility as a citizen of Nigeria? Because these are the things that will make you to have interest in whatever your country is doing. But all these things have been thrown behind, and we are doing nothing. When I say we are doing nothing, government is doing nothing to ensure that people acknowledge or they have the information about what they need to do and how to go about doing the things they have to do. And when this happens, that's what you see. You can't force people to do something they do not know or believe in. So first of all, you need to help them to believe in what they should know and how to love Nigeria and why they should be a representative of Nigeria anywhere they are. That whatever they do in one way or the other adds value or take away value from Nigeria as a citizen.
What I agree with you on that, Mr. Chris.
So how do you expect somebody to just...
Whilst I agree with you that it's important to have love for your country and be patriotic, in taking practical steps to participate in governance, it's from two angles. We're all surprised that the 2023 statistics of the number of registered voters, 91 million out of a population of well over 210 million Nigerians. And when you look at the demographics of those with PVCs, you discover the young persons top the agenda. But when it comes to card-carrying members of political parties, young persons are more or less marginalized in that instance. You look at factors like the high cost of obtaining one, the high cost of even purchasing declaration of interest forms as well. Do you think that a youth who now develops patriotism and love for country, who chooses not to want to have a PVC but obtain a card-carrying party status or even vie for political office, has the right encouragement to do so in Nigeria of today?
Yeah, the truth about it is what I said earlier, loving and believing in your country is the starting point. Now, when that love exists among people, and you feel that what is existing in certain political party is not giving you the opportunity, what do? You can set up a new political party for the people within those people, because political party is about ideologies, isn't it? So if we have young people who have a new ideology on how they want to run their affairs and how they wanted Nigeria to be, that can be the beginning of forming a political party. You understand me? And from there, they can plan that this is what we have to do. And at that point, it could be that taking a form to vote, knowing that they don't need so much money to do serious campaign. As far as they have themselves and they believe in themselves, they can actually vote for themselves, because that's the essence and how political parties drive for votes. So the truth about this is that the first thing first, you cannot put the horse, you cannot put the horse behind the cart. You understand? So first of all is that we look at what happened. I know how young people come out, they rally around, the Labour Party during the last election. And at the end of it, because certain things has happened, everybody got disappointed. And they feel that Nigeria cannot be fixed anymore. See, the love for your country, just like you have a family, the family where you come from, nobody need to preach to you to love the family. Because first of all, you know the people in your family, you believe in them, they love you, they've shown you that this love is real. So no matter what happened in that family, you still go back there, to see how you can put things in order and correct whatever that is in misshape. So these are the things. Until that belief and love is strong in the hearts of the people, we may not be able to do much.
Hello,
Mr. Chris, are you still with us on the line?
In order to vote. Be able to vote in Nigeria.
Mr. Chris, let's get back to the race against 2027 general elections and talking about the political mergers. We have seen the defection to the SDP by Malam Nasir El-Rufai. We've also seen a lot of mass defections from different opposition parties to the ruling All Progressives Congress. Ahead of 2027, do you think that if there is some sort of coalition, would it be in one of the major opposition political parties, or do you see the possibility of a new political party being created, much like APC was created in 2015, to tackle the ruling All Progressives Congress ahead of 2027? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I truly believe, if you ask me, I can tell you that at the moment, there are just two political parties who are benefiting from the status quo and those who are very, very hungry. And if you ask me, those who are hungry and who are in need, who are searching for help, they are more in number than those who are benefiting from the status quo. So if Nigerians are truthful to themselves, and those who are hungry and who need a change, who truly need a change, desire to vote, because it's about the voting, it's not about being in a political party, it's about voting for who is right. If all those people who are tired of the old order decide now that they are going to do something different, that they are going to vote for who they feel will lead them, irrespective of the political party, then you can be sure that victory will go the other way. But if it's the same way things have been, where we navigate around where we can get little money or stipends for the now and not bother about the future, then the status quo will continue. So for me, it's between those who want a change and those who want what is going on to continue. That's the two political parties that I see in Nigeria, beyond what is going on now.
Now, Mr. Chris, talking about the APC and how they have been perceived under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with certain key changes in policies, like the removal of fuel subsidy and with the cost of living crisis that we're currently undergoing. Do you think that despite defections of major politicians to the all progressive parties, that Nigerians going to the poll in 2027 will keep faith with the renewed hope mandate?
I don't think so. I don't think that Nigerians will keep faith with them. You know that our politicians, who they've been over the years, they've shown that they go to where the money is. Possibly the present administration may be sharing some things that will bring them into their political party. But for me, it's about Nigeria now. And I believe that Nigerians know what to do. the other thing we have to think about when we mention about the coming, forthcoming 2027 election is if INEC will really do their work in a way that the voice and the vote of the people will count. I think that is the highest challenge we have to face now as a people. And we need to look at it, because based on what we have seen in the scene, a lot of things going wrong and nobody is saying anything. We've seen vote buying. We've seen results being taken and changed to it, for someone who did not even vie for election. So if this is what it is, I don't think there is much change. So Nigerians should begin to cry out now to actually make sure that INEC does not repeat the same thing.
Beyond INEC is just the electoral umpire, and it's empowered by the Electoral Act. But more from the angle of electoral reforms, there have been conversations to also expand Nigeria's voting strength to the diaspora, e-voting. And I believe with the employment of technology, some of the human interferences which you were mentioning in election irregularities can be tackled. Do you think that Nigeria is ripe for e-voting and diaspora voting?
We are very right. We are very right. Nothing stops technology from working unless the human factor. We have everything ready if we want to go into e-voting. The truth about it is that even the last election, we talked about the beavers, we talked about the collection of results, how easy it looked and all of that. What made it not to work is not the technology, it's the human factor. So it's about us understanding that we're Nigerians. And truly, if you ask me, I want to appeal to Nigerians. Enough is enough. We should look beyond what we can get as a people. We should look at the future of this country. Many of those perpetuating this evil in Nigeria, they have children. I don't know whether they are thinking about the future, and they don't know that whatever wealth you may amass today can just go down the drain tomorrow. And what happens to the future of your children if we continue to do the same thing? I think these are the areas where we need to talk to ourselves about, so that we can realize that whatever we're doing today that is causing this pain on our nation does not leave anybody out of it. Because you don't know tomorrow. Well,
Mr. Chris, let's talk about the current contenders ahead of 2027, or possible contenders for the most revered seat in the country, the presidency, ahead of 2027. We all know that the possibility of former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, throwing his weight into the ring is much there. And of course, the Labour Party's Peter Obi is also going to be contending. We know that Rabiu Kwankwaso of Kano State will also be in the ring. And of course, the President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, would also want to run for a re-election, amongst many others. Who do you think, amongst all of these opposition leaders, stands a chance against the president ahead of 2027, if possible?
Well, they are all big names in Nigerian politics as we see today. And so far, we've seen them, and we have their records. Everybody knows who they are. From the incumbent president, President Bola Tinubu. At least he has shown who he is, what he can do.
Yeah.
In these 2 years, we're still hoping that before the election, maybe there will be a lot of improvements and all of that. We're hoping to see that. For Atiku Abubakar, he's not a new name. He has been in politics for a long time. Since he became vice president, I think he has always been there, coming out to also see how he can, be at the top, to see what he can do. And he's been promising Nigerians a lot of things. And we're looking forward that, this 2027 we may unveil some new things around them, what they have done in the past 4 years to reposition themselves for this forthcoming election. And P2B is one man who has also been standing out. He has stayed focused in what he believes in, even when all odds were against him. After the election, he's still standing where he's standing, and we want to look at what he still has to give back to Nigeria come 2027. And so Kwankwaso is a strong name, especially in the north. We know Kano to be a very stronghold when it comes to elections in Nigeria, and we're believing that at that point he might, pull some string also.
Well, Dr. Chris, Dr. Chris, before we deviate into individuals, not to seem as though we're blowing their trumpets, remember the conversation is on political parties and the 2027 race. Whilst a lot of these individuals you're naming haven't picked up declaration of interest forms, and we don't want to go in contravention of the laid down guidelines by INEC. Let's keep it with the political parties. My question to you is that there are 18 registered political parties in the INEC register. We have 36 states in the country, but only four parties enjoy the seat of governorship. There is a very unbiased spread, with the PDP and APC grabbing a majority of the 36 states. Only two other states are on the Labour Party and the NNPP. Do you see a change in 2027 where more states might opt for different parties away from these four parties who currently enjoy the large spread of the states in Nigeria?
Yeah, at the state level, I'm not looking at seeing so much change. Only maybe a few states, just like it happened last year. Because when you go into the states, you see the level of politics they play there. Most of these states have their traditional political parties they are already going for, and that's why most times you see at the end of the day they get someone who may not even be working and they don't care about it. Except from Abia State that in last election they were able to make a serious change, by taking away the old political party who has been there for a long time, because they felt that they've seen someone they believed in and they knew he could pull a string. So before we could see certain level of changes at the state level, I can tell you that people must be very dissatisfied with the status quo, and people are ready to do something new. And if you see that it was a tug of war, even when election was won, that of Abia, it took a long time before they were able to get it right and gave it to who actually won the election. So the systems in Nigeria is always making it impossible for new things to happen. But whether new things are bound to happen, it will happen. But it requires somebody to do a very thorough job, somebody to stand out to be able to win whatever that has been standing there. Because like we said, you can't be doing the same thing and expect a change. So for those who really want a change in the next election, they must stand out. They must prove that they are much, much better in character and in other aspects of life to be able to, to pull the necessary strength that is required to do the needful.
Now, beyond trying to prove that they are, they have the character, they have the goodwill of the people at heart, and all of that, what do you make of the interference of, the government at the federal level, especially with regards to state gubernatorial elections or even local government elections? We all know that what is described as federal might is quite influential when it comes to who becomes governor in most states in the country. And now this is also signaling a tilt towards most parties or most candidates of the ruling party being elected as governors in these certain states.
Yeah, the truth about this thing is, if you understand, if we truly understand, especially the ordinary Nigerian people, and these are the people I chose to speak to, because you can't change the mind of the politicians. They already decided on what they want to do, and no matter what, they go all out to do it. But if the ordinary citizens of Nigeria decide among themselves that we actually want a change to happen, how many percentage of these politicians are there compared to the number of Nigerians who are eligible to vote. So it's the decision of Nigerians. And that's where, when I talk about we loving and believing in our country, the only reason you sell off is because you do not believe in Nigeria. A lot of Nigerians do not believe in Nigeria, and that is the truth. They may have their reasons, but I don't think that reasons are germane enough for you to hate your nationality. You know, no matter what it is, this is the only country where I see people talk evil about their country. No matter how bad it is, there's still this love that we need to uphold, that will keep us going, that will make us want to do what is right, that will make us to protect the integrity of our nationality. These are the things, these are the missing gaps that we need to bridge among ourselves. So we can't be talking about Nigeria and somebody is saying, for example, the Igbos are marginalized. We all know that. The marginalization is coming to the Igbos because that's what they are facing. If you go to the north, they have their own problem. You go to the southwest, they have their own problem. Every region has its own problem. But when we personalize it to ourselves and then forgetting about the challenges other people are facing, then we are not being sincere to ourselves. Because today in the north, there's no constant light and constant water supply as they are not in the east and in the west. So there's no particular geographical zone in Nigeria where you can think of and you say that everything is working for them. So the truth about it is Nigeria is suffering. Nigeria as a nation is suffering. All Nigerians are going through the same pain. So what can we do to take ourselves out of this pain? Should be a collective effort and not a question of region or where this person comes from. But it's about looking at that man or that one person that we believe that will be able to bring about the change that we want to see.
Now, Mr. Chris, voting patterns have also shown that Nigerian voters have a high level of preference for the presidential elections and probably the governorship elections. But when it comes to representative elections in state legislature or even the National Assembly, there's very little effort by Nigerians to vote in that regard, forgetting that some constituency projects emanate from such quarters. How do you see voter education changing the voting patterns coming into 2027?
The best voter education, I believe, that will change the mindset of Nigerians to want to participate is the genuineness of the election umpires. Because see what goes on in the election. Sometimes some people believe that going to election, going to cast your vote is a risk. That is a major thing because you see a lot of shooting, a lot of carrying of ballot boxes. So government need to do enough. It's not as if the people do not know that they have to vote, but most people don't want to vote at the expense of their lives. Look at what happened in Lagos in the last election, how people were beaten, how people were threatened. Is this something that will encourage people to want to come out right, to do what they're supposed to do? Exercising your franchise is supposed to be something that government should ensure that there's a level playing ground and everybody has a freedom to do that without fear or favor. So we cannot stop pointing at leadership. When leadership fails, every other thing fails. I do not think that Nigerians are so limited in thoughts that they wouldn't want to go and exercise their vote. We should look at the underlying factors and fears why they are not doing what they're supposed to do. The truth about it is that the leaders must wake up. If Nigeria has to change, their attitude towards things has to change. There's no way politics will become survival of the fittest, whereby people use their power to stand against anybody who is not willing to vote for them, and you think that things will work. It will never work because you will never get the best hand to run the nation. And when you don't have the best hand to run the nation will be in chaos, just like what we're seeing. We should face this truth. We should understand it. And the leaders must understand that, see, we can't continue to do this to Nigeria. If they truly believe and love Nigeria, this belief and loving Nigeria should start with the leaders also. They should believe and they should love Nigeria, and they should be willing to do things that will make Nigeria work. by giving everybody a level playing ground to do what they're supposed to do so that people begin to take responsibility for this country.
Now, Mr. Chris, with the president's antecedents and, of course, his track record since assumption of office in 2023, do you think that 2027 holds much promise for a possible re-election and returners of his position as the president of the country?
Based on what we've seen so far, that would be a very difficult task, because immediately he started, I think one of the major mistakes I may think he made was the fuel subsidy he removed from the beginning. And from that time, and from...
Carry on, please, Mr. Chris.
Yeah, and from that time till date, I can assure you that Nigerians have not recovered. You know, the inflation is getting high every day. The suffering is too much. You know, it's good to say this. The reason I'm not there live with you people is because I look at the transportation coming down to your office. What is going to take me to go and come back? And I couldn't make it. These are things you do without feeling anything.
That's very understandable.
But now you have to calculate. You have to calculate what you need to do, what you have to do in order to get it right. You understand? So he's thrown the nation backward in terms of economy and in terms of individual sustaining power. And that is a problem. That's why I'm saying maybe miracle will happen between now and 2027, where he will have something to leverage to say, this is the reason why people should vote me back. And that we are looking forward to that. If not, it's likely impossible for him to really win this election in the ideal way. And that is another reason we're going to see that it might be tough. This election might be tougher than it was the last time if certain things are not done the right way.
All right, Mr. Chris Nwani, we must thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you on Morning Express, and we wish you the very best in your future endeavor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was nice being here too.
Well, that has been Chris C. Nwani, who is the president, Youth Afrique Leadership Forum, speaking to us on the possibility of a new Nigeria, and of course, talks of political mergers ahead of the 2027 general polls in the country. Well, he has made quite some very important points there, Bito.
Quite salient points on the need to re-engender patriotism in the heart of Nigerian lawful country, whilst calling on the youth to increase participation in governance.
Yeah.
Well, come 2020.